Welcome back to another YouTube video, and today we're going to be talking about the unnatural links to your website. This is another type of manual action, and I have actually been asked to create this video quite often. I feel like that there might be a lot of people that have had this issue, and one thing that I have done for clients in the past is remove the unnatural links manual action through to their website. But what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be breaking down what you guys should and shouldn't be looking for, and essentially how you can go about actually fixing this issue. Now, depending on the size of your website and the age and the amount of links it's had, this can take a lengthy amount of time, because there are certain things that you need to be looking at. We essentially, as our agency, whenever we're doing like a manual action recovery for a unnatural links, we actually take a look at the type of links, we categorize the links, everything. I will cover as much as I can in this video, so you guys can try to do it yourself. One thing that I will say from the word go is that if you guys have done a disavow in the past using tools such as Ahrefs or SEMrush, I will say that there can go a lot wrong when you are doing, or when you are using tools like that, mainly because of the fact that Ahrefs and SEMrush weren't actually built for disavows. They're more so keyword research and backlink tools to essentially see which keywords your competitors are ranking for, and also what links your competitors have. There is no form of checking for toxicity at all with any of those tools. I do understand that SEMrush does have a spam score, but it is massively flawed, and I will go into the reason as to why it is flawed, and what you should essentially be looking for when you are trying to essentially build your disavow. So first of all, let's take a look and see what Google actually recommends for us to do. So download a list of links to your website from Search Console. You can download your links arranged by host names, top linking, or in chronological order. This is using the actual Google Search Console. There is a section on the left hand side where you can export all of your backlinks. Then check this list for any links that violate our link spam policy. If the list is large, start by looking at the sites that link to you the most, or links that were created recently in the last few months. Then we have got step number 3. For any links that violate our spam policies, contact the owner of that website and ask if they either remove the links or prevent them from passing PageRank, such as by adding a rel nofollow to the actual link. Use the Disavow links tool in Search Console to disavow any links that you could not get removed. We often see the Disavow links tool used incorrectly, so keep the following rules in mind when using the tool. If you can get a backlink removed, make a good faith effort to remove the link first. Blindly adding all backlinks to the disavow is not considered good faith effort and will not be enough to make your reconsideration request. So what they're trying to tell you is, if, say for example, your website has 100 links and let's say 50 of those links are toxic, or they don't match the actual Google link spam policy, try to reach out to those 50 websites and say, hey, can you remove those links? Now, in a lot of cases, what we typically find is the reason why those websites have become toxic is either it could have been a negative SEO attack. So if it has been a negative SEO attack, let's say a competitor has done this to your website, it can be very tricky trying to get those links removed. Step number 2, it can be forum comments that has essentially caused this issue. So these are all the types of links that you should be worried about when you are looking at your disavow. So forum links, or when I say forum links, don't just think about Reddit or Quora. There are a lot of spammy forums as well that you can get fiberblast, which we will look into as well later on in the video. Those links can be highly toxic. You then also have aggregator links as well. Now, aggregator links, with the rise of like e-commerce websites, they have become a lot more of these aggregator websites. And basically what an aggregator website is that it will scrape your content, it will use certain pieces of your content word for word, and it will publish it on their website. Now, the bad thing about that is that those websites can become very toxic very, very quickly, and it will link to your website, and that will very quickly destroy your website. So always look out for hacked websites, actual forum comments, and also aggregator websites. So just bear that in mind when you are looking at doing a disavow. So for multiple links from the same domain to your site, use the domain operator in the disavow file for convenience. Make sure that you don't disavow organic links to your site. Simply disavowing all backlinks without attempt to remove them might lead to rejection of your request. So again, when you are doing your actual reconsideration request, you need to show evidence that you have at least tried to reach out to some of these website owners. So let's say, for example, your website has a link from abc123.com, and abc123.com is a toxic website. Let's say it's hacked. Let's say it is a link farm. What you should ideally try to do is reach out to that website and say, hey, can you remove the link? Or in some cases, can you add a relative no follow to the link? And then if you can provide screenshots of you going back and forth with that website, that will definitely help. Now, this is a lengthy process, especially if you have got a pretty big website. So just bear that in mind when you are trying to do a disavow. It's never just it's never just like a one size fits all. You do need to try and actually manually do this. That's why a lot of people actually pay to get this process removed. One thing I will do is I will have a link to Backlink Doctor in the description. So if you guys do have a manual action, just reach out to them. They'll go back and forth with you and provide you with a quote. But when you've removed or disavowed the artificial links, select request review on the manual actions report. Include documentation about the links you have removed and an explanation of any links you were unable to remove to help us process your request. So again, trying to document this section as much as you can. I know if it is your first time, it can be very daunting, especially if you do have a big website, but if you stick to the 6-step process, it should go very well. After you've submitted a reconsideration request, be patient and watch for review status in your Search Console account. We'll let you know when we've reviewed your site. If we determine that your site is no longer in violation of our spam policies, we'll revoke the manual action. Now, this step here, I know that some people have said that it can take up to 2 months. Now, that was during COVID. There are also people that have said it's took 1 or 2 weeks for the actual manual action team to get back to them with their reconsideration request. So just bear that in mind when you are submitting your reconsideration request. If you can essentially reach out to the websites as quickly as possible and try to essentially fix the issue as quick, because I know that if your website is down, it can be a massive issue, especially if you are a local business, for example. Your website is your bread and butter at the end of the day. Now, one thing that I do want to show you guys, so now that we understand the process, I just want to deep dive into the actual why you shouldn't be using certain tools to do the disavow. So if I pull up this website, this is grind.co.uk. They sell coffee products. So as you can see, very nice website, but this is just an example website. Now, to get the most accurate disavow, and also to essentially categorize your links. So one thing that a lot of people would do is they would go over to Ahrefs or SEMrush and they would say, right, I have got 2,000 referring domains and I've got 42,000 backlinks. Now that's not actually the case. If we actually use a tool, now this is a tool called LRT, I believe it's about £2,000 per month or $2,000 per month. But this is the actual Chrome extension. As you can see, it's got 4,000 referring domains and 37,000 backlinks. So there is a massive deficit here. As we can see, we're only being shown 2,000 referring domains. And on this section here, we actually have 4,000 referring domains. So one thing to bear in mind with these tools, especially Ahrefs, SEMrush, is that they don't scrape the entirety of the web. So if you can imagine, if you were Ahrefs' CEO, it just doesn't make sense. Why would they want to scrape or essentially have in their database a load of hacked websites? Ahrefs it's not actually built for doing disavow. Same with SEMrush. I know that they do have a tool, but just run this website through Ahrefs. There will be a massive deficit in the amount of referring domains and also the amount of backlinks. When you are essentially checking for toxic links, you need to have the most accurate backlink profile. So that being said, what our team does when we are trying to submit a disavow, when we are trying to actually submit a manual action as well, is we export from Ahrefs, SEMrush, Majestic, Google Search Console, and we essentially combine all of that data, and that's when we then have the most accurate set of referring domains. Now that being said, we also do the same for competitors as well. So we get Ahrefs, SEMrush, Majestic, Google Search Console. So we have 4 databases for your website. We have 3 for your competitors. Obviously, we can't get access to Google Search Console for your competitors. But again, we export from Ahrefs, Majestic, and SEMrush, and we try to find a toxicity threshold. Now, what a toxicity threshold is basically every website can naturally get away with some form of toxic links. If Google just had a zero tolerance in toxicity, every website or a lot of websites would get hit tomorrow. Now, if you think of it, a porn website or a gambling website, they can naturally have more toxic links than a website that's trying to rank for plumbers in Wyoming, let's say. So always bear that in mind when you are doing the actual disavow process. Obviously, you want to get rid of any aggregator websites, hacked websites. SAPE, for example, SAPE is Russian hacked websites. A lot of people that try to do negative SEO, they use those forms of links. Also, you have the likes of GSA, and so on and so forth. So anything like that, you definitely want to get rid of. With LRT, one thing I will also do is I'll pull it up on the actual website so you guys can see what it looks like. So this is Link Research Tools here. Basically, this tool from the ground up was built for spam checking and toxic checking links. It does have a much deeper backlink profile that they actively scrape, more so than Ahrefs and also SEMrush. And now don't quote me on this, but people have said that this tool is the most accurate to Google's PageRank algorithm. So when you are analyzing links for what links pass power, which links don't pass power, this is a very, very good tool for that. However, the price is expensive. So if you guys did want to disavow and stuff, I just recommend outsourcing it, because that's probably the best scenario for that. But what I do also want to show you guys is, if we take a look at this, you also have got a lot of different categories of links. So you've got toxic 1, 2, 3, suspended 5, which is like hacked links, suspicious links, pornography links, suspect for 6, which is like PBNs, Another thing that I've not even mentioned just yet is bad links with bad neighborhoods as well. So for example, if you get a link from abc123.co.uk, that website could look fine, but if that is, for example, hosted on a IP address that also hosts porn websites or hacked websites, it can affect that website. So just bear that in mind when you are doing disavows. You need to be looking at certain things like this. So that's why I always recommend just using LRT. They do have a lot of subset rules or preset rules, and then it just makes your life a lot easier, if I'm being 100% honest. Now, that being said, a few things that I want to touch on, because these are probably the most commonly asked questions when it comes to disavows. The most commonly asked question is, do disavows work? Yes, disavows do work if you do them correctly. I know a lot of people that have done disavows in the past using the incorrect tools, and it essentially has harmed their website. I highly just recommend, if you've never done a disavow, or if you've never gotten rid of a manual action link penalty, just hire an expert. It's probably going to be a lot easier for you. Although some people might not want to do that, just watch this guide. I'm hoping that this is probably the most accurate guide when it comes to actually removing a manual link penalty. The second one is, should I be looking at DR or DA when doing a disavow? No, you shouldn't. DR and DA, first of all, they are third-party metrics. Google doesn't rank websites based off of Ahrefs metrics or Moz metrics. And also, the second answer to that is, if I just load up Fiverr, for example, I've just searched DR boost, and as you can see here, I will boost increase Ahrefs DR domain rating up to 70 in 10 days. There's a lot of these gigs, so just bear that in mind. DR isn't the be on and end all. It is a good metric if you combine it with other things, but just looking at DR or Moz DA, it's not a good metric at all by any means. Very easy to manipulate DR. The third thing is, I get asked this a lot, and that is, can I do a disavow whenever? And the answer is yes. If you are essentially acquiring links, I always recommend you to proactively do a disavow. Now, the reason for that is, let's say, for example, your website is a monster website. Let's say, if we take a look at BBC probably acquires 1,000 links a day, right? So those guys, the guys at the top that consistently stay at the top, they are also acquiring links naturally, but they're also disavowing their worst links as well. Now, if, say, for example, you have a website and you've had it for, like, let's say 6, 7, 4 years, 4 plus years, but let's say, right? It is probably something to take a consideration of, especially if you have never got a disavow in the past. Bad links or toxic links naturally do get acquired to literally every single website, so it is always a good thing to just keep on top of that, and essentially just prune off your worst 10% of your backlink profile. Again, that answer does have a caveat. Is if you're a small business and you are a plumber in Wyoming, let's say, I keep using that example, you probably won't need a disavow. But let's say, for example, you are let's say Fiverr, for example. Fiverr probably naturally acquires a load of links every single day. They will probably need a disavow every 2, 3, 4 months. Now, again, it does depend on the size of the website. There are monster websites out there that are proactively getting rid of their backlinks or their toxic backlinks. But again, that's not to say that you will need a disavow every single month, because that would probably be overkill. You might need a disavow every year, let's say. So just bear that in mind. Links, a good link today can be a bad link tomorrow, especially with all the core algorithm updates and the spam updates as well. There was a lot of websites that were linking out to, let's say, BBC, that would have been hit by the latest spam update. So naturally speaking, you would want to disavow those links, especially if they have been de-indexed, or for example, websites do get hacked. It is natural for a website to get hacked. I've seen it time and time again. So just bear that in mind when you are looking at certain things like that. Now, this page here, it is obviously on the Search Console help page. They do talk about how to submit your reconsideration. If you have never done a reconsideration request, you will see it on the left-hand side, manual actions, and you can request a review. A few things about this step. One thing I would say is, obviously, make certain that everything is in line. You have actually reached out to some websites saying, hey, can you remove my link or change it to a nofollow? You can also do a disavow file and also show them the disavow file as well, and they will take a look and see if you have done it correctly. One thing that I will say from previous experience, you want to try and get this right first time, which is, it can be difficult if you have never done a manual action for a link penalty before. But try to do this first time, because the second time can take a little bit longer for the manual action team to get back to you. That's based off of my team and myself experience for doing this for clients and stuff. But yeah, that has been my video on the unnatural links to your website. If you guys do have any questions, feel free to drop them down below. And if you guys do want a free 15-minute strategy call, make sure to check out the description to cadra-.com. Thanks.